Hallo, meine Freunde. Guten Tag und willkommen. My name is Nate, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel and today's video. Now, today's topic is a little bit on the, I don't want to say depressing, I don't want to say dark, a little more serious, I suppose. You can tell that it has something to do with the American dream. And this girl here thinks that the American dream is toxic. Now, without seeing the video first, I have not watched it yet. Right off the bat, I kind of agree because the American dream just isn't what it used to be. You had the old cliche American dream, white picket fence, big house, car in the driveway, steady job, family, the sitcom American dream. Now, if you know anything about George Carlin, you know one of his famous lines out of many was, they call it the American dream because you must be asleep to believe it. And I kind of agree with that. The American dream to me really isn't attainable at the moment because there's still a lot of division, a lot of conflict, a lot of people that just aren't getting a fair cut. We still pay out the you know what for healthcare, and the rich are continuing to get richer while the poor are continuing to fall behind. So the American dream just isn't what it used to be. The land of opportunity has long been passed. There are a lot of opportunities here that you won't get in a lot of other countries, but there are a lot of countries that give you more opportunities, that give you a better chance at survival, at living. So I'm curious to see what her thoughts are on the American dream and why she believes it's toxic. So, without any further delay, let's just hop into the video.
I've thought about deleting this video at least 3 to 4 times, but I realized that part of my personal maturing means reflecting on my own beliefs and the cultural beliefs that I was raised with, and having enough humility to share that I wasn't seeing things in a different light. It's embarrassing for me to be wrong, but I'm really glad that I've been able to mature and have had the opportunity to see what it feels like to work for a purpose other than status and worth. And if you guys have a similar belief to this, I know it's embarrassing to admit. It's very embarrassing for me to even admit that I had this belief. Um, I just hope that this video really helps you kind of rethink the way that work is viewed in other countries as well.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel.
Okay, let's go back here. So I've thought about deleting this video at least 3 to 4 times. That right off the bat tells me that she's has one set of beliefs, feels one way, but was afraid that others would look down upon that, or think differently about her because of her beliefs. And I've had this before. I've run into this issue, but you have to sit back and realize that these are your beliefs, these are your feelings. Nobody else can take that away. Nobody else can tell you how to feel or what to believe in. And it's easier said than done, but you should never be afraid to express those feelings and beliefs, uh, just because somebody might look at you differently or think of you differently. So I I 100% can relate to this.
The way that work is viewed in other countries as well.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Olivia. Today I am going to be talking about, really, this video might seem a little bit jumbled, but kind of the struggle that I've been having internally since moving to Germany. But I've had this kind of growing pain happen where I'm seeing a lot of the beliefs that I was raised with in the United States from just the culture of the US kind of being removed from me as I live in a different fishbowl, I like to call it, which is in Germany. And so
That's going to happen, I think, for everybody, no matter where they move to or set up camp, if you will, in another country. The longer you're there, the more detached you become from your home country, and the more attached you become to your new country. So in this case, Germany, she's obviously been in Germany for a while. And so I think that this isn't a bad thing necessarily. You're becoming more of the culture that you're surrounded by and less of the culture that you left. Now, this could be, for the positive if you've lived places where it's a not so nice or whatever, but on the other hand, I think it can be I think it can be scary uh, for some people that had their core beliefs and their core set of values growing up, like she said in the United States, and it's slowly shifting to another set of value. That can be scary. That can be uncharted territory, and it can you can fight against that. But I I I can see that.
I think the clip that I'll end up using, I just recorded like an hour-long video, but the clip that I'm going to use is going to be a clip about me talking about status in the United States, job status, where you work, why you look down on people who work in normal jobs, things like that, and how that's really kind of being taken out of me, that attitude, that brattiness, that snootiness, that stuff that I think you really notice in United States. Anyway, let's get started. What I'm really struggling with right now is kind of feeling this shift in the way that I was raised to think about how people live their lives. I think from a cultural perspective, not from my own family perspective, but a cultural perspective, fed the American dream like it's owed to you. On top of that, when you're growing up in the United States, you really are taught to believe that the world watches you, that the world is aware of what you do, that the world makes its own moves. They decide to make moves based on what you do. You are the sun, and the world is kind of the trees that grow along with you. Now that I'm outside of that fishbowl, I have a different set of data coming into my system. I'm swimming in different waters, and I know that there are different temperatures. The way the fish swim are different. All of that stuff is so different from what happens in the tank of the United States.
I really like this analogy of the fish tank or the fish bowls because if you think about it, it's true. If the United States is one fish bowl with certain fish swimming at certain levels, they're going to be different. They're going to react different than the Germany fish bowl and the fish that swim in that bowl. So I'm really digging the fish tank, fish bowl analogy.
I guess I'm in this like weird place where I'm getting this growing pain of trying to figure out how to be myself in a new country, but also how to be myself with a new set of beliefs. I was always raised to really not raised in my family, but raised as a culture to believe that the wealthy you are, the higher the job title you are, the more busy you are, the whatever, skinnier, prettier, XYZ you are, the better off in life you are, which I do think is the truth in very many ways. However, you're never taught what that actually means for everyone else.
And that is 100% true. It's almost like a status symbol in the United States on how busy you are. Everybody wants to say, oh, I'm so busy, I'm doing this and I'm running over here and I'm going over there. Like that's a good thing. That is not a good thing at all because you're missing out on other important things in life. Just being busy for the sake of being busy is stupid. And the status symbol, the job title, the fancier the car, the bigger the house. It's the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. It's that your status increases with the more material goods you own or how big your house is or how much money you have in the bank. That means you're more important than somebody who's just scraping by or somebody who's not even just scraping by, but somebody who's content with uh, a less expensive car or a smaller house or not the job title per se. And it happens all the time here in the United States. And yes, even I'm going to go out on a limb here that I'm a few years older than she is. And even when I grew up, I was lucky to not be raised like that within my family. We were never taught you need to be successful to be successful. You never you never have to, you don't need the title of CEO to be successful. You don't have to have this much money in the bank to be considered successful. My sister and I were raised to do what we can, do our best. If we're happy, my parents were happy. And so I was lucky in that sense. But like she said, as a culture, the United States, people would look down on you if you drove the car that had a couple dents in it or had 3 different paint jobs, or and it's almost a natural feeling when you are raised in a culture in a society like that to be jealous, to have uh, not so nice feelings towards somebody who you believe to be successful, and look up to them or to aspire to be like them or to just be jealous of them. And it can be very toxic. It's not the way any of that should work.
You don't consider the whole population. Essentially, you just are taught about yourself and what success for yourself looks like. When I moved to Germany, it was really like someone ripped the rug out from under me and threw me into a pool of normal people. And I laugh at that because I was the only one who was so concerned about what I was doing, what my success looked like, what my appearance was, all of these different things. And Max was always telling me, like, that stuff's not that important. It's important to have your family and your friends. And I was like, yeah, I know. But the busier you are, the whatever, the higher your job title, XYZ, the more money you make. And just through living in Germany, you really are taught how can you contribute to society? How can you genuinely contribute to the people around you? You pay your taxes, you pay your insurance fees, you take care of your body by exercising, you hang out with friends, and then you get your social interaction and you are a friend to other people. You visit your family to interact with your family. And then money kind of just comes as a way to pay your bills so that you can continue to do all of that stuff. That's where I'm starting to feel all of this buildup is really feeling uncomfortable, recognizing that my beliefs are changing and they're changing in a way that really sets me so far outside of what I was raised as a culture to believe. It's hard to kind of unroot yourself from, hey, it's okay to work at a grocery store. It doesn't mean anything about your capabilities, your level of intelligence. It means nothing about your value. It means absolutely nothing except that you work at a grocery store. The end. That's how you pay your bills.
I can see the emotion in her, and I can feel it, um, because it's true. It's here in the U.S. If you work at a gas station or a grocery store, or if you're a waitress or a waiter or a bartender, or these what successful people want to call less important jobs. I mean, look at the pandemic. Look at how that should have changed every single person's mind about who the mission essential people were. It's the nurses, it's teachers, it's the grocery store workers, it's the delivery people, it's the gas station people, it's all of those that had to continue to go to work no matter what. They kept the economy going. They kept everybody else afloat. And then these other people who uh, had these elaborate job titles and drove fancy BMWs to their high-rise offices, they got to stay home and work. They didn't have to go expose themselves. And yet, I feel like society's returning back slowly to the way it was before, where people still look down upon these people. And I wish people could imagine. They never will because they're too proud, they're too stuck up, whatever. To imagine a world without those people, without the essential workers, without the nurses, without the people stocking grocery store shelves, without people running gas stations, without wait staff and servers, they would have no idea how to live. They wouldn't. They rely so much on these less than important jobs. I'm doing this a lot because it's just dumb. That they would have no idea how to survive. They wouldn't. They rely on these people, and then they talk down about them. And so I'm really feeling her emotion with this one.
In the United States, if you work at a grocery store, you're an idiot, you're a high schooler, you probably made poor life decisions, or you're so old that you have to work at a grocery store because you can't afford to be retired. In Germany, those are all very different situations, and they're all dealt with in very different ways. And I understand that Germany is a smaller country than the United States. Don't leave a comment about that. I'm not an idiot. But I just think that it's so upsetting to me. It really makes me so upset that there are people who are embarrassed about where they work. They're embarrassed about going to work. They're embarrassed about having to show up and make money to go to retirement. Like, people dealt different life cards, and that may mean that you go through a horrible divorce. I remember Max and I had, this is exactly where all of this started spiraling, is like the video you guys saw of Max and I having coffee in Munich. As we were driving to coffee, I remember I saw an older woman, probably in her 60s, riding a Lieferando. She was a Lieferando driver. Lieferando is like Uber Eats for anyone in the US. And she was driving this food around. And I just remember that was the first time that I really recognized that that's what people mean by you're dealt a different set of cards. And I said, Max, why do you think that she's still driving for Lieferando? And Max was like, maybe she went through a divorce and lost half of her things, and now she can't afford to pay XYZ. And then he was like, or it's close to Christmas. Maybe she wants to save up money for her grandkids, but doesn't want to dip in her savings. Or maybe she's retired and wants something to do. Maybe she does need a job. Maybe she's an immigrant and needs a job. Maybe she got out of a horrible place and needs a job. I think for me, that was something that really impacted me a lot, because when you move to a different country that you don't know the language in, it's already scary to have to go back to work. You don't need other people judging you. And I never have felt a judgment for working in Germany.
She's gonna make me cry here pretty soon. Yes, you never know what other people are going through. And I've caught myself more than once having one idea in my head or one thought in my head if I see somebody driving for Uber, or even standing on the side of the road or something like that. And then I think, well, maybe something did happen. Maybe something tragic happened in their life, and I can't understand that. I know nothing about that. So who am I to judge them? Because I don't know. I don't know what they went through. And I've thought about, the jobs that I've had have been, I worked for a security company, and I worked security at the NASCAR track in Phoenix. And there were many nights where I kept thinking, this job is below my level of expertise. And it wasn't that I was thinking that I was better than the job per se. It was that I felt incomplete, basically, because I knew in myself I had more experience and more skills than what the job required of me. So it was like I felt like I was not utilizing my full potential. You know what I mean? It wasn't that I thought anybody who worked that job was just below me. It was a personal thing for me, knowing that I came from a supervisory role in a major company, and when I was laid off, this is the only thing I could get at the time. And so I had that feeling of, well, I can do more. I know more. I have more skills than what this job requires. But I would not look at somebody else and go, oh, well, you're security, and I'm up here now, so you're not as important, or you aren't as smart. Like she said, if you work at, let's say, Burger King or any fast food restaurant, everybody tends to think that they're 18-year-olds straight out of high school, no life experience, no nothing, and they shouldn't get $15 an hour. They should still work for pennies. But some of those workers, that's what they want to do. That's what they enjoy doing. They enjoy being in the food service industry. They enjoy that. And if people just don't understand why somebody would enjoy that. But guess what? It's none of your damn business what they enjoy or not enjoy. Everybody's different. I enjoy certain things. You enjoy certain things. I would like to be, have a certain career that you might think is totally out there in left field, or vice versa. So this whole looking down and looking at people and saying, well, they're down here because they still drive for Uber Eats or whatever. Maybe they really don't. Maybe they are better off than you and just enjoy doing it. So,
Not once, not ever. I probably felt judged because my German was really crappy, and like maybe people are like, why did they put her out here? Maybe they should have put her in the back. I don't understand a word she's saying. But I have never felt judgment working anywhere in Germany like I have working in the United States, ever. I think that the US has such a snotty attitude just about how much money you have, your status, things
Yep.
like that. And that is really defeating to people who have really overcome a lot of things. And I always think back to, as well, when I was living.
It's also like, I've read on Facebook and memes and whatever that, these people are telling those that don't have as much money, well, go shopping at thrift stores and go shopping here. Well, they're missing the point entirely. They shouldn't have to. They should be getting paid a livable wage. They shouldn't have to settle for the discount rack. They shouldn't have to settle for the cheap seats or the cheap food or whatever. They're completely missing the point.
Living in Australia, I never understood why these girls that were just moving to Australia and learning English were working as cleaners or were working as dishwashers. I always felt like, wow, that sucks to be them. That's such a shitty position to have. That is, I would never do that. I had that kind of an attitude, and that came from being raised in the United States, where if I didn't have a title, I had no value. And now that I live in Germany and I've had to do those jobs that I would never do, I've really come to understand that you do what you have to do in this life. And I don't necessarily know that everybody understands that, or they're raised to understand that. And honestly, I'm really surprised in myself for not understanding that earlier, because where I've really grown up is that my mom she worked 3 jobs so that I never had to feel the pressure of living hand to mouth. And I feel really embarrassed that although my mom did all of these things, I still grew up to think that if you have to work 3 jobs, if you have to work 2 jobs, if you have to work at a grocery store or McDonald's or Burger King, if you have to be a janitor, you're doing something wrong. And now that I've stepped away from this culture that tells me my status is who I am, I can see that my mom did everything she could, and that is so noble. And people who show up to their McDonald's jobs because that's the job that they can get are so noble. I don't know. I think I'm just struggling through these weird growing pains. And I know that these are really embarrassing to share on the internet. I'm so embarrassed to even post this video, but I really like to document how I'm changing and evolving. And if people don't agree with that, that's okay. And if people do agree with that, that's also okay. I try not to get hung up in the comments, because I understand that everything that people leave in the comments is really just a reflection of themselves. And I know that sounds so woo-woo and so crazy, but I genuinely believe that people only notice what they notice about themselves. I do it all the time. Yeah. So, anyway, that's this video. There's not really a point to it. Probably just me being silly and like being overly vulnerable on the internet. Longer later, Kurtz is in. Long story short, there's not a lot of story in it. I just wanted to kind of get that off of my chest, and I really share a lot of the stuff on my channel, and I really like to do that. I feel like there are people out there that are listening, and I feel like there are people out there who have felt the same. So if you have a similar story, or you've also learned something like this, it doesn't have to be like this. It can be any lesson that you've learned since moving to Germany, and any insight that you've gained into yourself, and maybe beliefs that you've had to shift around. I would love to hear them. Leave them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you liked this video, and leave it a like, and I'll see you guys in my next video.
Well, that was a little more emotional than I had anticipated. And Olivia, if you are watching this reaction to your video, please know that you are not the only one who feels that way. I also feel that way, and I know there's probably countless other people that feel the exact same way about the toxic culture of the United States. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I am counting down the days before I can move to Germany. And I know a lot of people may think that I am, this might be a bit strong, but a traitor to the United States for wanting to leave so badly. But, to each their own. I really don't care. You can call me what you want. Doesn't hurt my feelings any. I have a loving family who supports me. My wife has a loving family who happens to be in Germany that love her and supports her and everything she does. So the toxic culture here is bad. Now, there's many things to love about the United States, and I don't want this to be just about how terrible the United States is, because there's many lovely people here. There are many lovely places here in the United States. It's not all terrible, but I've always been a believer in that you should do what you want to do and do what makes you happy. And for me, happiness is being in Germany. And I believe I've said this in previous videos, but every time I get off the plane in Germany, I feel like I'm home. I feel like that's where I need to be. And nobody can change that. And nobody, unless they feel the same way, will understand that. My grandmother actually told me when I told her that that's the way she felt about my hometown in Sheridan, Wyoming. That's the feeling she had living there. And that's great. That's perfectly fine. Everybody has that feeling of where they belong, or where they think they belong or should live. And not everybody's going to be the same. Not every American citizen wants to live in the United States. I mean, look at a lot of these expats living overseas, not just Germany, but all over the world. That's where they want to be, and I think that's wonderful. So the United States isn't a terrible place, but it has a lot of flaws that I'm just frankly tired of dealing with. And I know some might think that that's giving up, that I should stay and fight for what's right here. Yeah, no. Why should I? This sounds terrible, but why should I sacrifice my well-being and my family's well-being for a place that, frankly, I don't think wants to change much? There's people here that want it to change, but until we reorganize from the top down, it's not going to change. It won't. There's too much power in money. There's too much power in corporations. And until that changes, it won't change. And I'm not saying Germany is the answer, is the one place that does everything right. They have their problems. They are not perfect. But they do a lot of things right that align with my core values and my core beliefs. So why not live in a place that does that? That's all I'm trying to say, I guess. Intense video. I do not believe in the American dream much anymore. Every point that she made is correct. People look down on others all the time here. They do in other places as well, but growing up in the United States, you're taught to believe that the United States is the greatest country in the world. You hear that all the time. We're the best, and that's laughable at this point. So I enjoyed this one. I will leave a link in the description to her video, and I think I'm going to go check out more of her videos right now, and I will probably subscribe because she looks like she's a down-to-earth person. She has a good head on her shoulders. I enjoyed this video a lot. So, Olivia, you gained another subscriber, and I hope if you guys enjoyed this one, you would think about subscribing to my channel. I have more videos in store, not just reaction videos, but I'm working on one at the moment that'll be original content. So be ready for that one. So if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing and hit the bell notification for any future videos that I release. All the YouTubey things, you know the drill. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Bye.